Greetings, Dr. Dominique Reese here, owner of Reese Financial Services, where I'm the Chief Financial Coach and Strategist. And today's Tip Tuesday is examine your financial blueprint to stop making these 3 money mistakes. And ask me how I know? Because I have made these money mistakes, and there are times when I continue to make these money mistakes. And what I have learned after, let's say, about 3 years of working on my mindset, and recently the last 6 months doing some really deep work regarding my money mindset. I did a post a few months ago about unlearning and relearning, untraining and retraining, and my money mindset has been a huge part of that exploration. And I am so happy to share that I've had a major breakthrough in my self-work, and everything is clicking. So I know what I've done. I know the work to do, and I want to share that with you because as we go into 2020, I know for a fact that there are millions of people that live the way I have lived financially. And if we don't want to continue to do that, then we must. It is mando that we do these 3 things. Or not that we do these 3 things, that we examine our financial blueprint to stop doing these 3 things. And I'll talk a little bit about what that means to examine your financial blueprint, but I'm going to give you some very basic questions to be able to start that process. And you can do this today. I would encourage you to carve out 15 minutes and just really sit with self and answer these questions so that you go into the new year training your subconscious mind to have a better financial year, to have the results you want, to have the behaviors you want, to get the numbers you want. All right, so here we go. I'm going to flip my screen. I'm using my latest board to make things visual because some of us are visual learners. So here we go. Examine your financial blueprint if you know better, but you don't do better. And you know what I mean by that. You know you should be saving, right? You know you shouldn't be spending every dime that comes in, but you do. You know retirement should be a focus, but you're not doing anything about it. Examine your financial blueprint if you're living paycheck to paycheck. Now, some of us, and I realized this during my exercise last night, some of us think that paycheck to paycheck living is normal, but it's not. We know how to do it really well, but it's not normal. And thirdly, you want to examine your financial blueprint if you have limited income, limited savings, and limited assets. And the reason why that is so important is because some of us have never passed certain marks in our financial life. We've only gotten so far, right? We've been able to save so much. We've been able to make so much. We've been able to be debt-free for so long. We have limited milestones in our financial life. Now, I'm just going to tell you, I just don't believe that we're meant to struggle. I just cannot believe that the God I serve, the creator of this awesome universe, has said, oh, no, you got to struggle. You got to work hard to get what you get. I just don't believe that. And I'm unlearning that training. I mean, it's 20 years of training. So be gentle with yourself, but also realize that we got to do something. We got to do this kind of deep dive into our blueprint. So what does that mean? And when you start to examine your financial blueprint, you want to ask yourself questions like, what is in your financial file? What is coming up when you make financial decisions? What's playing into that? And a lot of times we find that, there are things from our childhood. It starts there. And I'm not just saying our childhood. I'm saying literally the things that have been downloaded into our subconscious minds, right? The things like, we don't buy what we want. We buy what we need. We never see our folks, take vacations. We always see our folks work hard for their money, but still struggle. Those are things that have been downloaded into our financial blueprint. And so when you go to make a financial decision, That's what's coming into your decision making, even though you know better, like you know how to save, you know what saving is, but you just can't seem to save for the life of you. That's because you may not have seen that modeled for you. We do what is modeled, and by model, I mean we learn by hearing, by seeing, and by doing. And so when we see our folks not going to the bank, but only going to the bank to maybe take money out, but never put money in, that factors into you being able to save. You don't see saving. So how do you know how to do it? You don't. You know you should be doing it, but you don't do it because you never saw it. It wasn't modeled for you. And you're like, but that was, I'm an adult now. I know better. Exactly. But your blueprint wasn't made up that way. Now, what is this blueprint? The blueprint is this idea of your operating system. Just like a Mac has an Mac OS operating system, Windows, PCs, or PCs have Windows. Those are operating systems. The computer would not work without an operating system. We are just like computers. Let me flip this back around. We're just like computers. We have information that has been downloaded into our microboards, if you will. And once we're old enough to start challenging some of those things, we see, like, I don't want that in my operating system anymore. I don't want that to come up when I make financial decisions. And so it's so very important that we start to examine that. What is your money story? What did you see? What did you hear? Where did you go or not go, right? Was life just work and come home and that's what your parents modeled for you? Or was it a lot of shopping? Was it a lot of getting away? Was it a lot of excuses? Was it a lot of hoarding of money? Was it a lot of frugality? Was it a lot of resentment? Did your folks argue about money? If so, then that's why you don't do well with it. You have negative emotions around it. You have negative experiences around it, and that's factored into your blueprint. So when you make decisions, there are things that are coming up for you that you have no idea are actually playing into your decision making, but you're like, this is crazy. I know I should be doing better because I know better, right? So I have been doing this work deeply for the past 6 months, and I had a breakthrough last night. I was like, I've got to be able to share with others to start this process. It is so very important that if we want anything beyond what we've had in 2019, I'll repeat that. If we want anything beyond what we've had in 2019, it is so very important that we start to examine what is in our financial blueprint. And another way to think about that is what's in your financial file. When you go to make a financial decision and you scroll through it and you open your file, your financial file, and you're like, okay, I need to decide if I'm gonna get this payday loan. What's in that file that's supporting that behavior? Is there anything in that file that is not supporting that behavior? Who's in that file as support? Who do you go to for support? Do you have a decision-making process around how and when you make financial decisions? Do you always make them emotional? Do you make them out of a crisis? Do you make them out of a need? Or do you make decisions proactively? Do you tend to plan? Do you tend not to plan? Do you tend to review your numbers? Do you not tend to review your numbers? All of that is a part of your file and a part of your financial blueprint. I'm going to give you a quick example of how I know I still suffer from a lack and scarcity mentality at times, and why my breakthrough was so important to me was because recently for Christmas, right? Kids get plenty of gifts, so I need to get some sleep. And we always have this thing with kids, like you can't open up everything, right? And that happened to me. My son got plenty of toys. I'm not a toy buyer. I don't buy toys, but everyone else bought him toys. And he wants to open all the toys. And I found myself saying, no, you can't open that. You already have enough open. Enough. You have enough open. And then I was doing my mindset work because I'm a part of a few challenges, including my own, the 20-day reset challenge. And it became so apparent to me that I was imposing my belief on him and actually adding to a negative financial blueprint. How does opening gifts relate to a financial blueprint? Let me tell you. It relates because he had gifts. They were given to him. He didn't have to earn that. they were literally bestowed upon him. And here I was telling him he could not open his gifts. And why did I do that? When I thought about it, the first thing that came to mind was, you have enough open. Enough. Keyword. You have enough open, and I don't want you to lose any of your new things. I don't want you to damage them. I don't want you to lose them. I don't want you to misplace them. And then the third thing was, if you open them all now, what will you open later? And I was like, that is so ridiculous. Do you see how ridiculous that sounds? This kid got gifts. People thought of him, and they wanted to give him things. And I allowed him to receive them. But then I wouldn't allow for him to experience the gifts. And for what reason? Enough. He had enough open. I didn't want him to lose anything. And if he opened everything now, what would he open later? That is a lack and scarcity mindset. Because if I say I'm an abundant and I believe in abundance, then there's always more. Why do I need to not open all the gifts now for the sake of not having something to open later? If I'm abundant, I will have plenty to open later, right? And what's enough? What's enough to have open when you have tons of gifts to open? So for me to limit him in what he could and could not open was a lack mindset. And then I didn't want him to lose anything. What is there to really lose? I mean, they're toys. They're supposed to be lost. And more importantly, in 5 years, will I care about any of those toys? No. Will he care about any of those toys? No. So there's really no importance for me to tell him not to open those gifts. And so I had to recognize that in myself as a clear classic example of what it means to suffer from a lack and scarcity mentality and how it shows up financially. That blueprint that I had, it showed up financially. Because when I have money, there are times when I don't want to spend it. Because I'm like, what if I don't have it later? Scarcity mentality, right? I don't want to misuse the money. Scarcity mentality, and this is enough. Let me make enough this month to cover the bills, right? What about beyond the bills? I like that, beyond the bills. Beyond the bills, right? What about living beyond the bills? So that is a clear classic example of how lack and scarcity shows up in our lives, and then in all areas, not just financial. But that same classic example of opening gifts on a holiday shows up in our financial life. So if that happens for you, know that you suffer from a lack mentality, a scarcity mentality, and we must examine your financial blueprint so we're not continuing to make those decisions in the new year and keeping money away from us and not creating that kind of a blueprint for our children. And when I did that, I immediately apologized to my son. And after I apologized, I explained to him why I said it and what I was going to do differently. So it's important that we have these awakenings, and I hope and pray that this has been valuable for you. If you have any questions about this, let me know. And if you're ready to reset your financial blueprint and set and reset the thoughts, words, and actions that you have around your money, you should join the free 20-day financial reset challenge. All right? That's a challenge that is ongoing. And more importantly, you could do it at any time. It's 20 days, 30 minutes a day. That's it. So check out the 20-day financial reset challenge, and I'll post the link so you can join that if you like. And if you have any questions about examining your financial blueprint, what goes into that, the types of questions you should ask yourself, or what it means to do that, please let me know. That is the work that I'm doing with my clients, because we cannot afford to allow lack and scarcity to make decisions for us. And so those keywords that I mentioned, enough, lose, what if I don't have enough later, those are all key indicators. It's not in my budget, I can't afford it. That's language of lack and scarcity. So if we're using any of that, no, you suffer from lack and scarcity. And 99% of us do. And it's an ongoing journey. It's not a destination. It's a journey to simply get better as we become more aware. And when we become more aware, then we can start to examine what we choose to allow to play into our financial decision making. So ultimately, it's just the ongoing work. It's an ongoing work, and you will know the moment you have a breakthrough. So to your success, I'm going to hop off now. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Dr. Dominique Reese. Peace.